So tonight for everybody who's logged in, we're first going to have our president of the PNBOA speak a few words. I have no idea what she's going to say, but it's going to be hers. And then we're going to review the rules that we talked about last week, that Steve talked about. And then, and we have a guest speaker tonight, Mike Lloyd, who has reffed a ton of games. And he's going to go over the highlights of the two new rules, 6 and 10. Is that right, Mike? 6 and 10?
Yep.
Okay, so Leslie, it's yours.
Thank you. I just wanted to jump in really quick and welcome all of the new apprentices. We are excited to have you and appreciate your indulging us in these unique times. Hats off to Stacy and her committee for pivoting and keeping this thing going, because we need more officials. And we're just excited to have you joining the PNBA family and excited to help all of you along on your journey. It's will be filled with lots of exciting times and challenging times and whatnot. And just want you to know that at the end of the day, you're going to meet a lot of really cool people and you're going to have a lot of really good times out of this. I met Mike. I joined the PNBA the same year Mike moved into town, and he and I worked a ton of games together and hence got to know each other and worked on the board of the Girls Association in its time. And then I had a road trip with Stacy to Portland. I had no idea who she was, and I was really freaked out to spend 3 hours in a car with her in a hotel room with somebody I didn't know. And now
because I'm pretty
fast
frightening.
friends.
You guys know I'm pretty frightening.
She's so scary. But now we're fast friends, wine buddies, road dogs, and whatnot. And Steve's the newest one. Met him when he joined the group, and
all
excited.
15 years ago.
Is it that long ago? Oh my gosh. Well, I have a watercraft, and Steve has we'll call it a watercraft, and so excited to connect with him in that way. So anyways, hope you guys will meet some really awesome people. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us along the journey. Just want to be honest, there's going to be some challenges, but nothing that can't be overcome. We can all speak to that, but at the end of the day, hopefully it's a lot of fun. I call it a paid workout, and really doing a great service to the youth in the area so that they can play. You know, there's more games and not enough of us. So we're excited to have you come aboard. And as I said, there's anything you need in the future, do not hesitate to reach out to us. You can find me at president@pnboa.org. So, or just go to the website and find me. So all I want to do was just to welcome you guys. Excited to have you. And Stacey, I'll give it back to you. Thanks for letting me pop in for a hot minute.
Not a problem. Thanks, Leslie. Anybody have any questions for Leslie? Okay.
I got one. Any chance you're gonna look at doing the self-assigned feature on Arbiter?
The self-assigned feature in Arbiter. Tell me some more about that.
Sorry, I couldn't get my button to unmute. Well, I know I use, I'm a soccer ref as well, and we use Arbiter also, and there's a self-assigned feature, so you can go in and pick the games that you want to do rather than just getting assigned games.
At this time, I would imagine not, but who knows? There's always opportunities to explore doing things differently. We have to look creatively at how to do that. Particularly, I know there's some games that require officials with a certain skill set and whatnot, but you know, it's something worth exploring. And
yeah, there's different rankings and stuff that they use. So only if you're allowed to do that, so your rank is high enough, then you can sign up for the game.
Okay.
So say, I'm just going to make up a number. Say a new official was, you know, like a rank 1, but you needed to be a 12. Well, you couldn't self-assign to that game, but you could ask to be assigned to that game, kind of a thing. But whereas if your rank was higher, then you could self-assign to the higher games.
Okay. And what kind of benefits, I guess, what do you see the positives of being able to do that? Since I don't know anything about it, let me get some more information.
Well, I really like, that's the whole feature that got me into reffing, was that you could pick the games that work for you. So like for me, my schedule's pretty busy and I'm able to just go in and say, okay, well, I could do a game, around 12 to 4 on Saturday. And I go through and I find the games that work for me. And then I'm able to self-assign to those games rather than having to block everything on Arbiter
Oh,
and never
yeah, because
getting.
Arbiter's so nice. Yeah. Well, yeah, something to think about as we explore ways of looking to retain officials and whatnot. So something we'll put on our something to explore list. So appreciate the
Sounds like a
information on
future
that.
board member in the wings there, Leslie.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that, Mike.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Any other questions?
I have a question. Leslie, could you just talk about remind me, what are those two patches, Woody and Rsj, I think it was? There are two different kinds of patches
There
you mentioned
are,
in your
and
email.
I just so happen to have them here. So this is the Woody Woodruff patch, and we will be wearing this in remembrance of our longstanding member, Woody Woodruff. He probably was in the association a good 40 years. He was on the board. Woody was just a class act. He gave back to the association. He was a teacher, and he was really revered in the community. So we'll be wearing the Woody patch on our shoulder opposite our flag. Should be the right arm of our jersey. And then our Race and Social Justice Committee has been exploring ways to, I guess, be involved in the social justice movement that's going on, and to show unity with the teams and ourselves. And so we have 3 patches, and you could choose one more, and we'll be wearing these on our jackets. And I should say all these patches are optional, but we have Everybody Versus Racism. It's up to all of us, and we are stronger than hate. So, and a lot of it's just an effort we want to be an inclusive association. We want to show that we are accepting of all. And so this is just one of the ways that we're doing that. The Rsj committee has been really active in explaining, and it was kind of born out of the incident that happened in Minnesota last year. And the board just felt the need to do something, and this was an opportunity to do that. And we started the committee and just kind of left it as a blank slate for them to explore ways that we could, with the goal of making sure that we are an inclusive association, that we are welcoming to people from all walks of life. So
Thanks. Is there any chance we could get any patches like on Thursdays? Usually we meet at Thursdays at the Strom Jewish Community Center for practice. I don't know if that's an option.
If I could get some from Leslie before then, that would be an option. We just have to see logistically if it works.
yeah, I was gonna say I could come over Thursday, depending on what I get going Thursday. Or Brazil, I could leave it over at the parents' house and you can come by and pick it up, because I do have some patches.
Yeah, we'll talk.
So you could-
We'll talk. That's a good
So
idea.
we'll figure it out, but that's a good idea. I saved some for just that reason.
Are we going to put
So-
something out on the website about Woody? Is there something out there so people who may not know who he is, like Roger, can go out and read a little bit about him?
That's a good idea. I don't think it's been discussed, but it's probably something to put on the things to do list, Smith.
Yeah.
Got it. You know, I will say to me, Woody was a fantastic role model. And I think that that's what made him such a great leader in our organization, was that he, was a role model for everybody on how to be an official.
And a good human
Yes.
being.
And a good human being, a good leader on the board and in our community. Yeah, and like she said, he was well respected at all levels out here.
Yeah, and we have a Person of the Year award, and we've renamed it the Woody Woodruff Person of the Year award. So that just kind of goes to show what he means to the association.
Okay,
So,
any more?
well, if there's nothing else, or you think of something at a later time, please do not hesitate to drop me an email. I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. So,
President@pmba.org,
thanks, Stace.
right?
Yes. Yep. That's me. All
All
right.
right,
You guys have a
thanks,
great
Mike.
night.
Okay, Mike, it's all yours.
It's all me. Well, hi, everybody. I was very excited to get asked to do this. As Stacy and Steve know, I kind of like the rules. Just a little bit about my background. I started officiating out in 1989 out in Japan. And what made me a rules person was the very first quiz that I took, 20 questions, yes or no. Did the official get the call right? And I'm going through this test, answering yes, no, yes, yes, thinking I'm acing this test. And I missed 15 out of 20 questions. I'm like, what? A person could take a shot and catch their own air ball? That's not traveling. Of course it's traveling. And what I learned is I was one of those idiot player fans and coaches who screamed at the referees because they didn't know the rules and I did. And I found out that no, I was the idiot and that they know the rules and that I don't. So what's worked for me is getting in the rule book, reading stuff, highlighting stuff, going through the case book, highlighting stuff. My first 10 years, I took a lot of tests, and including once a year, we had to take a 100 question closed book test, and you had to get 80% to work playoffs. And I prided myself on knowing the rules, and I never missed qualifying for being a playoff official. And it's just followed me out here. I'm currently on the RTO committee for our rules interpretation and our WOA handbook. And I really just enjoy talking about the rules, because that's what separates us from everybody else out there, is that we know the rules. And that's what gives me a lot of confidence out there, blowing my whistle or not blowing my whistle, because I know the rules and the idiots in the stands do not. So you'll find having rule knowledge as a great part of your foundation and making you a competent official. So if you ever have a rules question or a situation that occurs in a game and you aren't sure how to look it up or how to adjudicate it, please feel free to reach out to me. I love doing this stuff. I really have enjoyed being that rules kind of guy. So do I need to share my screen, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and what do I want to do? Where is it? Is it this guy? Oh, no, it's this guy. Oh, no, you want me to do the quizzes first, right?
Yep.
Okay, let's see.
By the way, thank you guys who have been slowly going through the quizzes. I got a lot more over the weekend. A lot of people filled them out. So keep at those. I know everybody's not caught up, but just keep at them.
Quiz 5, quiz. Is this the first one? This is quiz 5.
That's fine. That's fine.
Quiz 9. Hold on. I got all 3 up here. Well, hey, there we go. Quiz 3. Let me see if I can kind of blow this guy up.
It says quiz 9. Oh, there's quiz 3. Okay.
Okay. Not sure how big it is for you guys. Ooh, that's weird.
That's fine. It's good.
Oh, these are the most missed questions here.
You look confused. Are you okay?
I'm confused because I don't think these are the most missed questions.
Why don't you go down to the actual where the actual questions are, and you can see how many got them right and wrong, and then you can pick from there.
Right. Well, I'm trying to get to the Those are the scores. I want to keep going up. Okay, here we go. There we go. So
All I see is the first page still, Mike. I don't see any,
do you see a team must have 5 players to start a game?
no,
Oh, that's what's on my screen right now.
you're sharing the wrong thing.
That's the only thing I have on my screen besides you guys on this side.
Do you need me to share?
I guess so, because I feel like I'm sharing and I had the first quiz 3 up. A team must have 5 players to start a game, and that's the only thing I can see on here. You
Okay,
guys
hold on.
don't see that?
Anybody see it? I don't see it.
No, we just see the 13 responses at the top, and then shows like the graph.
I'll
Right.
get it up, Mike.
Same here.
Do I need to stop sharing?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll share. And you just tell me what you want me to do.
No, just open up quiz 3.
It'll be open here in just a second.
Okay, yeah.
See that?
Wow, that's odd. Why wouldn't mine show? Huh. Yep, I see it.
So this one, not a lot of people, if people have questions about these ones that most everybody got right, you can ask them, but we're not going to go over every question, okay?
Correct.
So most everybody got the first one, second one. This was a few more, 6 to 10. I don't know if you want to talk about that
I was
one.
going to talk about that one. That one, the important thing about this one, number 3, is they're trying to trick you by throwing a lot of dead ball stuff in here with the timeout or with the free throw and the timeout. And then during that next free throw, in between free throws, they call the timeout. The kid who went out originally A4 or
Yeah,
yeah, A4 is there at the table to check in. And the big thing about that is once a player checks out of the game, they cannot re-enter the game until at least the clock is properly started and stopped. So even though they had a bunch of activity, free throws, a timeout and stuff like that, by rule, you're not allowed to bring that player back in until the clock has properly been started. And the thing with that is just remembering the fact that was A4, because the table doesn't sometimes recognize that, A4 is the one who went out, now A4 is coming back in. So they're hitting the horn saying, go on in, trying to get the kid to go in. And so we as officials just have to be cognizant of that rule. The player has to sit out at least a tick of the clock.
how about number
All right.
5?
Yeah. And this one, it's all about safety. It doesn't matter how much padding. You can't have anything on the forearm or below down to the wrist, the hand, anything that's hard, even if it's padded. We've had the coaches come up and say, well, he's got this big padding around his wrist there. Can't he play with it? No, if there's a hard substance underneath, they can't play it. Oh, okay. So this is number 7. Team A is wearing royal blue uniforms. A1 has a navy blue undershirt. Is the undershirt legal? Yes, because it's blue. We don't break down the shades of blue. Basically, we worry about the rainbow, the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, purple. And they're either that, bright red is the same as light red. Forest green is the same as light green. Navy blue is the same as sky blue because they all end in that word. They're either blue, they're green, or they're black.
So that was a little bit tricky. Here's a good one.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest with you, one kid could be wearing a navy blue undershirt and another kid could be wearing a sky blue undershirt. It's still all good because they're still both blue undershirts, predominant color of the main jersey, which is also blue, a blue. Well, this is surprising. Yeah, so this actually used to be true, but they changed it many years ago. So if they add a player to the roster, once they're given a T for that, they can add as many players as they need to. And it's just the one T they get.
Everybody following so far?
All right, and players considered bench personnel after the player has been notified of his or her fifth foul. This is actually an important rule to know because having the player become, when they become bench personnel is important in case there's a technical foul. So the answer to this question is the player becomes bench personnel when the coach is notified of the player's fifth foul. Up till then, the player is still a player on the court. So if he walks by you and curses you before you notify the head coach, he's still a player, so it's just a technical foul on him. But if you've notified the coach and the player curses you after that as he's walking to the bench, now he's bench personnel. So that T not only goes to the player, but it's also an indirect to the head coach because the player is considered bench personnel at that time.
Yeah, and we haven't covered that yet, but you're gonna cover it tonight, I think, so.
Yeah, technical fouls, right? But it's just knowing when the player is disqualified is important for that reason.
Yep.
That one looks okay. You want me to go over this one, number 10?
Number 10, yes, a lot of people got it wrong.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so A5. I wish you could you can't make that a little bigger.
A5's game jersey is not tucked into his shorts, and the official warns A5 and has him tuck in the jersey. 1 minute later, A5's jersey is again not tucked in, and the official assesses a delay of game technical foul against A5. Is this ruling correct?
That would be no.
And what's the proper procedure, Mike?
So, right. So what would happen is you actually take the player out of the game at the next dead ball, and he doesn't come back in until he wants to get his jersey tucked in. And if he comes in and a little while later his jersey's untucked, you take him out of the game again at the next dead ball. We don't stop the game to take care of it. We wait till just the next dead ball and we say, Coach, I need a sub for number 25. A5 is injured and team A head coach comes onto the floor to assist the player. Team B head coach then requests, thank you, and is granted a timeout. Can A5 return to play at the conclusion of the timeout? That would be no, because team A would have to take the timeout in order to keep the player in the game. Not just any team taking a timeout, but the team of the injured player has to use a timeout.
But Mike,
Yes.
if play had resumed, at some point, A5 could come back into the game.
Oh, absolutely. So
Maybe not right away then, but
it would be the same as if he left the game for a substitute. So he just has to wait one tick of the clock and he would be allowed to come in at the next dead ball. Does that make sense? Did that answer your question, Roger? Okay. Let's see. It's not legal to roll game shorts at the waistband, as shorts must be worn in the manner the manufacturer intended them to be worn. Yeah, that's a nice little fun one we get to deal with. They actually changed the rule a few years ago that allows them to roll the waistband of the pants now. The thing you look for with that is, sadly, trademarks. They can't roll them over and show a whole bunch of, Under Armour all the way around the waistband. That's not legal. And they also don't want the drawstrings hanging out as well, just for safety, so somebody doesn't get their finger caught in a loop or whatever. But yeah, they changed the rule a few years ago to allow players to roll their waistband up.
That's it for that one.
Roger that. Any questions about any of the other ones that anybody might remember they took?
Can I make a quick comment on this rule? if ever there was a rule that you were going to spend some time, not get as many questions right as a rookie referee, this is probably the one that you're okay with not knowing. But, you know, the questions are there to make sure you kind of get through that rule book, but a lot of this stuff becomes more important as you move on in levels in the game. And hopefully your partner will also help you with, you know, some of these uniform and equipment issues.
Yeah, and especially, you know, with rec ball and things like that, some of these rules concerning the uniform go out the door because we just want, you know, we just want the kids to be able to play at that level. And if their jersey has 3 numbers on it, you know, we're going to deal with it. And you just want to give the kids the opportunity to play. But certainly at the school level and the varsity level, and, you know, in any high school level, I think it's important to start enforcing these rules, because as I tell these kids when I do their C game or JV game, you guys are my future varsity people. You know, I want to show you what it's like to be a varsity player. And one of them is looking the part of a varsity player. So you can't wear that headband, you know, bandana tied around your head, or you can't wear that red undershirt under your white jersey kind of deal. And, you know, you try to do it respectfully and they usually will work with you. But Steve's right.
Okay, quiz 5, rule 5. I think this one's just worth you talking through because there's always confusion about this one.
This number 15.
Yep.
Oh, each team is allowed only one 60-second timeout in each extra period. No, they get to carry over any timeouts they had left over from regulation. They also get to carry those over into overtime. Plus, they get an additional 60-second timeout.
Everybody good with that?
Now, you may work some recreation leagues or some tournament games and things like that that have their own little rules, and they might have where, hey, they only get one timeout in overtime. So that's that league specific. But as far as regular high school rules, you get all the timeouts you had left over plus one more when you have an overtime.
Mike, do you know which rule that one is in? So I can highlight that one.
That was
Oh, it's in rule 5.
Rule 5. That was a rule 5 question. Let's see back here. It's gonna be.
It's section 11,
Yeah.
art 1.
All right, and how has the word it's additional, well, just the last sentence, unused timeouts accumulated. And may be used.
Yep, I'm good. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thanks
yeah.
for finding that.
The additional word got me.
Yeah, the additional, right. Oh, it got you to get it right or got you to get it wrong?
I got it wrong.
Ah,
Yeah.
Hey, Darrell, you might be the only coach that I know that might actually know the rules.
Yeah, right.
The thing about that is that the overtime periods are considered an extension of the fourth quarter. So the same thing with what direction you go in, and, you know, team fouls and timeouts, all just kind of as if you were continuing to play the fourth quarter. Except for adding an extra timeout, you know, through the.
Right. Okay, Mike, we're on to rule 9 quiz.
okay. This guy, the penalty for the first time an opponent breaks the plane of the throw-in boundary plane and makes contact with the thrower is a technical foul. No, that would be incorrect. If they make contact with the thrower, it's actually considered an intentional foul, which is different than a technical foul. So we're going to talk about intentional fouls, penalties here later on in Rule 10. But the difference would be the intentional foul would count as one of the player's 5 fouls toward disqualification. Whereas if you called a technical foul for this, it would actually go to not only count as one of the player's 5 personal fouls, but also count of one of the two, he gets for disqualified for technical fouls. Where this answer would be true is if they reach through the boundary plane and contact the ball. If they contact the ball, even just touching it by rule is a technical foul, and that gets charged directly to the player. Any questions about that one?
And there's no like intent. I mean, if it's literally just a mistake
Yes,
versus, it seems kind of harsh. I don't know.
it is kind of harsh. So coach the players well to not reach through the plane.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I mean, that's right. There's nothing in there that says anything about intent. It's just that if they do it, they do it. So then it is kind of harsh. So don't do it. Let's see. B2 has ended her dribble by holding the ball with both hands and is closely guarded by A2. B2 heaves a desperation shot that she quickly realizes will fall well short of the ring. She runs and catches the ball before it hits the floor and begins to dribble. The referee blows her whistle and signals an illegal dribble. Is this ruling correct? Well, the key words in this one is heaves a desperation shot. So if you as the official determine however ugly that is, she is actually trying to score. It is considered a try, and during a try, there is no more player control or team control. So anybody can get that air ball, including the person who shot it. Mind-boggling, isn't it?
No questions about that one? There's another one.
And that one's actually, it's kind of covered in several rules. Because you have to know about control and team control and the definition of a try and, those kinds of things. And that's what helps you get that one right. A5 has been in the foul lane for almost 3 seconds when she receives a pass from A1 and makes an immediate move to the basket to attempt to try. Her path is blocked and instead she passes out to A2. The referee blows the whistle for a violation immediately when A5 makes the pass to A2. Is this ruling correct? Yes, this ruling would be correct. I'd actually be interested in what people thought, why people thought this was no. Anybody want to?
Come on, somebody be brave.
I guess what I was wondering was they thought it was no because once they tried for the 3-point or for the try that the 3-second count was terminated and they get a new 3 seconds once they stop the try and they kick it out.
Well, I almost got this question wrong because it says almost 3 seconds. So like how close is almost to 3 seconds? And then it doesn't really give you like another time frame. So it could be that she passed it at like 2.7 seconds. But I got it right because I just figured, whoever Steve wasn't trying to trick us that much, but
well, right. So almost 3 seconds is exactly that. They're close to 3 seconds. You figure that once she makes the move to make to the basket, that it's probably gone by 3 seconds at that time.
yeah,
But
exactly.
once they make their move to the basket, we actually suspend the count versus terminate the count. That means if I'm at 2.7, I'm still at 2.7. And once she's made that stop and turns and makes the pass out, well, now we've gotten to 3. So we're going to call that 3-second count. We're going to call that 3-second violation.
Yeah, Darrell, so it doesn't matter, like if she's, like Mike said, if she has the ball for 2.9 seconds, and then she gets it and she makes a strong move to the basket, which might take another second or two, that's okay. Because she's directly going from the entry pass, which was short of 3 seconds, to trying to make a basket. That what gets her in trouble is if she pulls up and tries to pass the ball out.
Gotcha.
So it doesn't really matter if it's 2.3 or 2.9 or 1.5. Okay.
Cool.
All right. Oh, here's another couple. I know we're spending a lot of time in these quizzes, but I think it's good. It's important to understand these rules.
I love these rules. I love quizzes. A1 is being closely guarded by B2 just over the division line in Team A's front court. B2 knocks the ball away and both players give chase. Then while A1 is still in Team A's front court, the ball hits A1's elbow and rolls into the backcourt where A1 grabs it. Has backcourt violation occurred? Well, yes. Even though B2 knocked the ball away from A1, A1 is the last one to touch it in front court before it rolls into backcourt. So it satisfies all the components of a backcourt violation where the team in control was the last to touch it in front court and team in control was the first to touch it in backcourt. The fact that B contacted the ball in high school makes no difference at all. It's just the fact that A1 was the last to touch it in front court.
You know, this one, I think most coaches really don't understand this one, high school coaches, because if a defender knocks a ball, if I'm guarding Mike, he's got the ball in the front court, and I knock the ball off of him, it goes into the back court, he goes back to get it, it's still a violation because he was the last to touch it in the front court and the first in the back court. And it's like, that's not fair. Oh, well, that's the rule. So.
Right. That's the rule in high school. They try, in some respects, they try not to have us make a whole lot of judgments like they do in the college and the pros on more control and who's touching it and what happened after it was touched and all this other kind of extra stuff that goes on in making their determinations. So to me, I actually just feel like they're rewarding poor offense and the high schools are rewarding good defense by making this call. But that's just
Okay.
But couldn't that also be seen as B2, since B2 knocked it away, were they the last one to touch it?
if it went into
Or was it
backcourt-
simultaneous?
No, it says after he knocked it back, A1 chased it and it hit A1's elbow. So it was obvious it hit A1 last before it went into the backcourt. According to this question, according to that question.
And even in the example I gave, I'm the defender, I tip it, and then it hits Mike's knee, and then it goes into the backcourt, and he goes back to get it. It
Still a
obviously,
violation.
yep, it obviously went off him last.
Right, I'm not gonna cut hairs in certain instances to where the defender's involved and they're touching it and they're both kind of touching it. I'm not gonna split hairs, but you know, the example Stacy gave and the question are both very obvious ones where the team in control was the last one to touch it in front court, even though the defender also contacted it.
Okay, hopefully this is the last one. We'll see. Go ahead.
Let's see, a throw and pass that lodges against the ring and the backboard is a violation that awards the ball to the team that has the alternating possession arrow. This one changed a few years ago. This is now false. It's actually a throw-in violation when this occurs. If it's like on a shot or a pass or something where the ball's on the court already, then it becomes the alternating possession arrow, but the throw and pass is the exception. If the throw and pass itself lodges against the ring in the backboard, then it's a throw in violation and we're going to give the ball at the spot where the throw in was started, because it's an actual throw in violation and throw in violations go back to wherever the ball was thrown in from. As opposed to if it's a shot or a try, the throw-in for that, the AP throw-in for that would occur, you know, at the end line near the lane line.
Okay, those are all the
There's
questions.
a few questions in the chat. Oh, you got it, Steve?
Yeah, I tried to get them.
Okay, cool beans. Then I won't worry about
Did
it.
anybody not have their chat question answered? Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it.
Let me see if I can share the PowerPoint, see how that goes.
Mike, do you have clips as well?
No, I had no clips.
Okay.
I
So-
have clips in the folder unless Steve has some extra clips. I mean, I have some clips that you used last time. So you can go through the talk, and if you want, then we can show clips, or I don't know what Steve is
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah, that'd be great. Can you see that?
Yeah, is that your full screen? Is it in full
Yes.
screen mode? Okay,
Yes. Does it need to be bigger?
it's fine. I just want to make sure.
Yeah. PMBOA apprentice training, is that what you can see?
Yep, there we go.
All right, so we're going to cover Rule 10 and 6. Rule 10 is the fouls and penalties. The first 6 sections of Rule 10 are concerning technical fouls. In general, all technical fouls are 2 shots plus the ball at the division line across from the scorer's table for the offended team, or for the team who shot free throws last in some respects. All technical fouls except indirect to head coach count towards team fouls. Team members are disqualified after 2 tees. And you're going to learn the difference between disqualified and eject, because a head coach is ejected when they get 2 direct technical fouls, or a total of 3 direct and indirect fouls. And when a coach is ejected, they have to leave the visual confines of the court immediately. And most people is immediately is a minute. All right, so sections 1, 2, and 3, these technical fouls are, like it says there, they're not conduct related. The first one is administrative technical, and they deal with failing to supply the roster and starters before the 10-minute mark. You can get a max of 1 technical foul for violating either of those. And then any changes you make to the starters or roster after the 10-minute mark is also a single technical foul, no matter how many times you screw it up. You could, add starter 23 or add player 23 before the game starts. That's the technical foul. Later on in the game, you realize you didn't have 24 in there. You add 24 to the roster. There's no penalty at that time because you've already been penalized. The section 2 are team technicals. They don't get assigned to any player. And those occur when you have more than 5 players participating. Somebody requests an extra timeout, coach or player requests a timeout, and you don't have any more. It's just a team technical. And then you allow the game to become actionless. That has to do with not ready to start the half. They get a minute grace to start a half. If they're not out on the floor ready to go after that extra minutes given, then it's a team technical foul. It's also a team technical when there are 4 warnings listed in 447 for reaching through the plane, for
Gathering at the free throw.
right, not having huddling the free throw, or not having the court ready after timeout, or not making the ball readily available. Like after a score, you knock it away. The second violation of any of those warnings is again a team technical foul. And then the substitute technical, either they come on the court, either they come on the court without reporting to the score, or they come onto the court without us beckoning them. And it's only 1 technical foul. They don't get 2 if they don't report and they come on the floor without us beckoning them. So it's just the 1 technical. The important thing with these first 3 is none of these result in an indirect technical foul to the coach. Any questions about those 3?
Yeah, I have a question on the administrative one. So say they make a change to their roster. What's the actual penalty? I mean, they get a technical foul, but you can't shoot free throws before the game starts. So how does that one get?
All right,
put
so
in-
you'll start the game with the technical foul free throw. So they'll do the anthem, the starters, all that fun stuff. And instead of doing the jump ball, we're going to go to whoever the offended team was, whoever didn't add the player to the roster. They're going to shoot 2 free throws, and we're going to set the arrow once we give them the ball for the throw-in. But yeah, we won't, same as if they dunk in the pregame, it's still just a administrative or that's the next one. A bench technical foul, but we again wait till we start the game before we administer the technical fouls for that. We don't get a kid for dunking and then go shoot the technicals for it right off. Section 4 is player technical, and these all go directly to the player. Again, none will go to the indirect to the head coach. And just some common sense things, the unsportsmanlike stuff, they're not supposed to change their number without reporting it, purposely or deceitfully delaying returning after legally being out of bounds. That would be their doing a throw in on the left side of the lane line, they throw it in and they run all the way down and come out by the 3-point line, all the way down on the right side to catch that second pass and score. That would be actually be a technical foul on that player for doing that. Grasping the basket or dunking dead ball, including during warm-ups. Illegally contacting the backboard or ring, that deals with purposely going up and slapping the backboard. Delay the game. That can be a player one if there hasn't been a warning, they just throw the ball all the way, into the stands because they're mad. That would be a technical foul direct to the player. Contact during a dead ball, that's not incidental, it's considered intentional. Flagrant is also a technical foul. Fighting is a technical foul. I have never seen this in 30 plus years of officiating. Commit goaltending during a free throw. It actually used to be commit goaltending or basket interference when I first started, but then they realized some of these kids can really get up there for the rebound and that a basket interference could accidentally happen. So they took that one out and now it's just goaltending. And then reaching through the plane, as we talked about before, and contacting the ball is also a direct technical foul to the player. Any questions about that one? Beautiful. Bench technical. Usually this has to do with standing when they shouldn't. They commit bench personnel, and this includes the head coach, assistant coaches, anybody who's on that bench. They commit an unsporting foul, enter the court, come on to the court unless by permission of official. Everybody is supposed to stay seated during the game, except for the head coach who has a coaching box. They can stand in the bench area during timeouts. They can spontaneously react to outstanding play, acknowledge a replaced player coming off the bench. Those are the only time bench personnel can stand. Coaches get to stand during the game and coach in their coaching box. And the players, the bench people cannot leave the confines of a bench during a fight, except the head coach and any adult assistant coaches can also come, or any assistant coaches, I should say, are allowed to come on the court if there's a fight, as long as they're trying to prevent the situation from escalating. It doesn't mean the assistant coach can come in and start swinging and not get penalized. They're supposed to be peacemakers, not add to the problem. The penalty is a direct tee to the offender if known, and then an indirect tee to the head coach. It's a direct tee to the head coach if he's the offender. And no matter what, any technical in any bench technical, the head coach is also losing his coaching box privilege. And now
just jumping in on that for just a second. So that committing an unsporting foul, that includes the verbal part, right? So if you got like the assistant coach barking at you from off the bench and you think it warrants a technical foul, that is a bench technical foul, which also has an impact on the head coach. Sometimes that phrase unsporting foul is like, well, what does that mean? It was like, how about like shooting off your mouth? That would qualify.
Right, or showing disgust on a play, they stand up and they wave your arms at you, those kind of actions. those are all considered unsporting actions.
Throw a clipboard.
Yeah, throw the clipboard
Throw
down,
a
throw the
chair.
coat up in the air. Yeah. All those kind of things that, everybody's got their own little area of what they allow and what they don't allow. To me, there are some absolutes, but not everybody has the same absolutes as we find out. But you just have to be ready to address those. The thing that really helps with the this one and number 6 on the head coach is we actually have an official warning we can give now concerning unsporting conduct. So the first time that assistant coach tells you that was a horrible call, boop, that's a warning on the bench. So we have another tool to where we don't necessarily have to put up with more crap. We have a way now to just nip it in the bud right out without having to create a huge penalty for the situation. We're addressing it officially, but nobody's getting penalized for it. But the next time that guy says, yeah, that was another terrible call, now it's an easy technical because you've already let the coach know that we're not putting up with it that night, and here's the tea.
Does that apply to, let's just say, there's teams that have a bunch of staff that just kind of hang around. Maybe they're the assistant trainer, maybe they're in a volunteer coach, maybe there's, the team managers, different people. Is it anybody that is associated with the coaching staff? Maybe they've got the same color shirt on or whatever, and they're actually sitting on the bench.
If
They may
they're
be way
sitting
down on the bench.
if they're sitting on the bench, they are bench personnel.
Okay.
If they're sitting in the stands behind the bench, they're now fans to me, and we're going to get game administration to take care of it.
Okay.
But if they're sitting on the bench, yeah, they're bench personnel, whether they're a coach, a postable player, a trainer, a manager, somebody holding a clipboard taking stats. Yeah, they're all bench personnel. Perfect.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I've heard a couple of times that like if it's the fans, you let the administration take care of it. Do you like go to the administration and let them know of something that's going on in the crowd, or do you just totally ignore it and hope that the administration will take care of it?
Good question.
Well, I think the latter is what a lot of people want to do, but no, we shouldn't ignore it. We'll go find the game administration. It's actually kind of funny that you bring it up because it's actually one of the POEs this year is unsporting conduct by fans, and they're wanting the game administration to be proactive and take care of it before we have to. But if the game administration isn't paying attention or whatever, then absolutely right. Hey, coach, this group of fans, or hey, gym manager, this group of fans behind is getting, personal against the other team, or saying, cursing at us, or whatever the case may be, and they should go and take care of it. Sometimes it's just a matter of them going there and sitting down next to the fans, and they tend to quiet down.
Hey, and for you people who, I don't think I've ever told you what a POE is. They're points of emphasis. Every year, the National Federation comes up with 4 or 5 or 6 points of emphasis, essentially things that we haven't done a good job officiating the previous season or seasons, and they make them points of emphasis. So when Mike says POE, that's what he's talking about.
I have a question on the standing in the bench area.
Mhm.
So does that mean a coach has a player that's going to sub in and they want to talk to him real quick? They're not allowed to talk while the player is standing?
Well, the coach can talk to the player as they're going by, if he has something to say to him, but he can't walk up with the player to the table and talk to the player because now they're out of their coaching box. So they could only talk to the player as long, stand and talk to the player as long as they were in the box. But no, they can't sit there and have a 30-second conversation and talk. The player should, sit down while they're having that conversation. If it's a quick 2 or 3 second as the player's on his way to the table to check in, then I probably wouldn't pay attention. But if they're standing there for some time, you're probably going to see it and you're going to want to address it then. Does that make sense? Sort of.
Yes.
Yeah. The big thing is that I think officials don't always recognize is that coach can't walk the player all the way up to the table to check them in. I think that's what we forget. The coach has to still stay in the coaching box, and really the only time they're supposed to walk up to the table is if they have a correctable error situation. They're not even the ones who are supposed to go up and check on fouls. That's what you have assistant coaches and managers for, is to go find that information. But by rule, they're, yep, say hi.
We do not in the case.
Good night, Alexander. So yeah, so the head coach needs to stay in their coaching box. And speaking of the head coach, this is his rule. And this in Washington, we do use the 28-foot coaching box. And they get to use it until they get a T, either direct or indirect. And once they lose their coaching box privilege, they can only stand to request a timeout, confer with the scores table about a correctable error, take care of a disqualified injured player, or simultaneously stand up and cheer a good play by a team member. And then, of course, they can stand during a timeout. They'll also responsible for replacing a disqualified player within 15 seconds. And that isn't, the procedure for taking care of that business is we call the foul, we go report to the table tells us it's 5. We go tell the coach, that's 5 fouls on number 15, tell 15, that's 5 fouls. And then we start a timer for the 15-second interval. And by that, we have them hit a horn, because all warning horns happen 15 seconds before the termination of the time. So we're going to have them hit a horn right off, count the 15 seconds, and then hit a second horn. If we don't have a sub reporting in by that second horn, it's actually a direct technical foul on the head coach. They're not allowed to, once a team member has been disqualified, they can't allow them to participate in the game again. Not permit a team member to participate while wearing an illegal uniform. If all the team's uniform, if the whole thing is illegal, they've got a big subliminal line on the back of their jersey, which makes it illegal in high school, it's still only 1 technical foul. It's not 5 technical fouls for a starter. And then when the first sub comes in, now we got a 6th technical foul. We're only going to give 1 technical foul for a team wearing an illegal uniform. And then we're not to permit team members to leave the bench area or playing area for an unauthorized reason. And like it says at the bottom, the penalty is a direct T on the head coach.
So one thing, just to clarify, Mike said that once a coach gets a technical foul, direct or indirect, that he can only stand for a few things, otherwise he has to sit. So typically what happens is, let's say Mike calls a T on the coach, and then either he or I or somebody else on the crew will go over and tell the coach that the seatbelt rule is in effect. And that means, and they all know what that means, they pretty much have to sit, and they're not real happy with it. So that's just kind of how that works. We have to tell him each time, even though they know, we just need to tell them.
What you don't tell them is, coach, you've lost your coaching box privileges. Now there's only 5 times when you can stand. Because what's that coach going to say? What are those 5 times? You better be ready to tell them that, because otherwise you're going to be delayed 3 or 4 minutes on a televised, state tournament game.
Or you could tell them, well, you'll know when I give you your second technical when it wasn't one of the 5.
For me, I'm not a big fan of calling it a seatbelt, because they really can. They have times when they can stand. So I just usually tell them, you can no longer stand and coach. That's what they lost. But the big thing is, I think, just like Stacy said, is the person who calls the T should not be the one to go tell the coach that they can no longer stand and coach and that they've got the seatbelt rule. let somebody else take care of that and keep the game moving that way. Usually the person who calls the tee on the bench, you want them as far away from the bench as possible. We don't want double whacking. Whoops, back. There we go. And then it's very important in Rule 10, they have the penalty summaries. Knowing balls out of bounds nearest the spot of the foul before 7 fouls, 1 and 1 for the 7 through 19 fouls, 2 free throws at once they reach 10, 2 free throws, 2 or 3 free throws in the act of shooting if the try is unsuccessful, 1 free throw if the try is successful, 2 free throws, 3 free throws for an unsuccessful 3-point attempt for intentional or flagrant personal foul, plus the ball for the throw in nearest the spot of the foul. And it's 2 free throws whether the basket is made or not. Okay, so if they go up and they make that lay-in and you call the intentional foul on the guy just hammering him, he's still going to get, or she is still going to get 2 free throws for that intentional foul. If they make the 3-point shot and get intentionally fouled, it's still going to be 2 free throws. Any questions about that one? That's the one that I think some people have a hard time getting right, because it's like, well, they scored the basket, so why are they getting 2 free throws? Well, it's because in an intentional foul, and all intentional fouls are 2 free throws.
And the
Your
last
slide-
point is, if you are fouled intentionally on a 3-point attempt and the basket doesn't go in, you get 3.
You get 3 free throws, yeah.
It says here, foul in the act of shooting 2 or 3 free throws if try is unsuccessful, but if the try is successful, 1 free throw.
Correct. That's just for a common foul. So
Okay.
if it's 2 free throws, if it's a 2, or if somebody's shooting a 3 and they get fouled, they're going to get 3 free throws.
Intentionally fouled.
No, she's talking about right above it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So those are just for common fouls, but this one down here, I don't know if you can see my mouse moving back and forth.
Yep.
But this one here, these is all dealing with an intentional or flagrant personal foul. Do you see the difference?
Yeah, it's just you had said that if they make the shot or not, it's 2 free throws, regardless. And I was like, wait a minute, but that didn't make sense with what the slide said.
Well, right, but I'm talking about the intentional foul versus the common foul. This is a
Okay.
common foul situation. This is an intentional or flagrant personal foul situation.
Got it.
Way bigger penalty.
Right. Okay.
And then 2 free throws for technical fouls, plus the ball for the throw-in division line opposite the table. And it's important to know whether or not it's a personal foul or a technical foul, because personal fouls, the ball goes out spot nearest the foul, whereas technical fouls are always throw-in division line opposite the table. And then we shoot no free throws for player or team control fouls. And you will not even imagine how many times you're going to have a player control foul and it's the team's 7th foul and the other team wants to shoot free throws. Well, it's their 7th team foul. Yes, but it's a player control foul, so we're not shooting free throws. Okay. And then we don't shoot free throws for any of the double fouls, double technical, double personal, double anything. But the penalties is a pretty important thing to read and understand in the back there. And that's Rule 10 in a nutshell.
I know we've been through this many times. I apologize for asking this again. Player control foul is also known as an old school offensive foul.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Or some people, they still call it a charge. That was charging. And usually that was a player control foul kind of comment as well.
Well, true, but and I'm sorry. This is my fault for not knowing this, but so the old hook foul, right? You're an offensive player and you're hooking around the defender and manhandling, getting the stiff arm, all these other things. Those are still player control fouls. It's not a
Absolutely.
charge.
Correct.
Okay.
It's all player
Gotcha.
control fouls. They're all those terms in the end mean it's a player control foul.
Okay.
All right, rule 6 is about live ball and dead ball. The live ball, there's only 3 times when the ball becomes live. On the jump ball, when the toss ball leaves the official's hands. On a throw-in, when it's at the disposal of the thrower. So it could be on the floor, it could be on their hands. And same way with the free throw, it becomes live when it's at the disposal of the free thrower, whether the ball's on the floor or the player has caught the ball. And then section 3 had to deal with jump ball administration. Jump ball begins when the ball leaves the ref's hand. Until tossed, the non-jumpers can't move on or in around the circle. The jumpers can't touch the ball before it reaches the peak, the old steal the toss. They're not allowed to just bolt out of the circle before the ball is touched. They can't catch the ball before the jump ball ends, and they're not supposed to touch the ball more than twice. And then the important thing in all this is knowing when the jump ball ends, and the jump ball ends when the ball touches a non-jumper, official, floor, and I've never seen this, basket or backboards, but that's what's in the rule. So sometimes we'll have situations where the A1 will tap the ball hits the floor and A1 gets it. And you'll see somebody, blow their whistle or holler, that's a violation. Well, it's not a violation because the ball hit the floor and now the jump ball's over and anybody can get it.
Now, these definitions are really important. For instance, the jump ball begins when the ball leaves the ref's hand, right? So the ball's live. But the clock doesn't start until somebody touches it. 2 different things, okay?
Right. The clock running or starting, and I think that's actually a note I have in here. The clock running or starting has no bearing on whether the ball is live or dead. What the clock is doing at the time doesn't make a difference on whether the ball is live or dead, because the clock could be stopped, but the ball is still live, and they'll show the things in there because it's like on a try. So it's in the air on a try. So even though I've blown my whistle or the quarter horn is ended, the ball is actually still live because it's in the air for a try. All right, and then section 4 was about the alternating possession arrow, established at the beginning of the game through the either the jump ball or once it's handed to a thrower, somebody throwing the ball in to begin the game because we had a technical foul, or somebody shooting free throws because we had a foul at the beginning of, say, the extra period and the jump ball never happened. So it's established that way. The arrow is used to determine the throw-in to start the second and third, fourth quarters. And then we use the alternating possession. That's what AP is alternating possession throw-in is used when we have held balls, when the ball goes out of bounds, touched by opposing players. We have simultaneous floor or free throw violations. So A1 and B1 both step into the free throw lane at the same time. We're going to have a double violation and go to the AP arrow. Live ball lodges between the basket and the ring unless another free throw or throw in follows. So if it got stuck on the flange on a free throw and it's the first of 2, we're going to get that ball down and they're going to still get their next free throw. And then they have, I've never seen this one. Opponents commit simultaneous basket interference violations. And then the point of interruption cannot be determined. POI, I should have capitalized that. POI is also a very important rule to know, 436(2)C. And this point of interruption would actually deal with, we have the try is in the air. We have a double foul. A1 and B1 are pushing each other while the ball's in the air and the try is unsuccessful. That'll be a time that we go to the AP arrow. And then the alternating possession arrow is reversed when the AP throw-in ends, as in 442.5, which is how it talks about how the throw-in ends. And then the opportunity to make the AP throw-in is lost, meaning the arrow is not reversed when the throw-in team violates. Oh, that's not right. either team fouls. No, it should be sorry, that is wrong. The arrow is not reversed when the defending team violates. If the throwing team violates, they're going to lose the arrow because they violated. But if either team fouls during an AP throw-in, we're not changing the arrow. Sorry, that's my mistake. That's what I get when I do the quick editing. Does everybody get that? Did that make sense?
Can you say that one more time?
Yes. So the arrow is not reversed when the defending team violates. So I've got the ball for an AP throw-in, and I go to throw the ball in, and the defending team kicks the ball. That's a violation on the defending team. The throw-in never ended, so we're not going to reverse the arrow. So if we have a held ball later on, I'm going to get the ball back because the defending team violated on the last AP throw-in. But if the throw-in team violates, let's say I've got the ball for the throw-in and I step across the line while still holding the ball and the violation's called, the throw-in team violated, so we are going to reverse the arrow. So the next AP arrow will go to my opponent. That's a lot.
Yeah, and the same thing, anytime there's a foul on an AP throw-in, it's like the AP throw-in never happened.
Yeah. So the arrow's not going to be reversed. And that's with either team fouling, whether it's my team or the other team, which seems odd. You would think that if I've got the ball for the throw-in and my team fouls somebody while I've got the ball for the throw-in, you would think I'd lose the arrow, but no. Either team fouls, the arrow is staying where it is.
You know, if you look at a couple case plays or something, JQ, it'll make more sense. It's just a lot of wah, wah, wah right now. So just look in the case book.
Casebook is an awesome tool to use along with these rules. And the casebook rules, if it's a 613 casebook play, then you'll see it, referencing rule 613 in the rule book. So I love the casebook. Both books together really work hand in hand in learning and understanding the rules. And then the ball becomes dead or remains dead when the basket is made. And it's important to know when the ball is dead, because if anything happens during the dead ball, we have bigger issues to deal with, like contact during a dead ball. Illegal contact during a dead ball is a technical foul. So very important to know when the ball is dead. A goal is made. An unsuccessful free throw if there's another free throw following. Held ball occurs, player team control foul occurs, an official's whistle is blown, and there's a whole bunch of exceptions listed after this section. Time expires on the game clock unless the try is in flight. A foul other than player or team control foul, again, there are exceptions. Free throw violation by the shooting team. If if I'm shooting the free throw and my partner steps in before I release it, tweet, ball's dead. But if my opponent steps in, then it's that old delayed violation. So the ball isn't quite dead yet. We're going to see if I make or miss it. If I make it, we're just playing on. If I miss it, the ball becomes dead. And then a violation of all 9-2 through 9-13, and there are exceptions to this one too. And the exceptions deal with either continuous motion, if it's a foul by the defense, or if the try is in flight. Then the ball doesn't become dead usually. And I think that's it.
Is that the whole thing? I got a couple of videos that I think that you would like. Remember that free throw one? Or the jump ball one. Unshare your screen, Mike, and I'm going to let you talk through the play. I think Steve pulled this play up last year, and it's awesome. Here we go. Oh, I guess I need to share first, don't I? Hold on. Come on. Share screen. Boom. Boom. This is the greatest play. Steve, this was yours, right? Can everybody see that?
Start of the game. Ouch.
Talk about having to be ready right at the start of the game.
So everybody's seeing what's happening there.
What are you gonna do with it? Anybody want to guess like how they would handle this?
Flagrant.
Okay, so what does that mean? How are we gonna, what are we
I
gonna
didn't hear
call?
what was said. Flagrant, is that what I heard?
Yeah,
Flagrant, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely intentional.
but
So
then,
what's the difference between intentional and flagrant in high school?
Just the severity. I mean, you're actually trying to injure somebody versus trying to foul somebody.
The
Like-
difference between intentional and flagrant in high school is a flagrant foul, we're disqualifying the player. He is done for the night. So you're right, it really is about severity. So if you tell the coach, I'm calling a flagrant foul, you're telling the coach that I'm taking the kid out of the game. So very important because college and NBA use the word flagrant differently than we do in high school. If you say, coach, that's a flagrant foul, you're saying we're disqualifying a player. So that's what I was kind of getting to with that question. And I have no problem going either or with that. So how would you administer that? So with whichever.
Actually, hey, Mike, even before that, what's the first thing you would do here as an official? The very first thing that you want to do here, after you've blown your whistle, what would you do next?
I think you need to make sure that player is okay, and you might need to follow the concussion protocol if he hit his head.
How about even before that?
I think it almost even make sure the players are all separated to make sure that none of the players run on the court or somebody goes after that player.
Love it. So get the players to their bench, right? Obviously, the kid who's hurt, but the coach will hopefully come onto the floor and take care of that player. But great answer, right? Is like, let's make sure nothing more happens. Get the players separated, get the players to their benches, right?
So how would you administer this play with either the intentional or flagrant foul, whichever you would call?
So
You would shoot the 2 free throws and then take the ball out at the spot nearest the spot of the foul, so near the midcourt line.
Okay.
how much time is on the clock?
Time would stay at 8 minutes and it would start once they inbounded the ball.
And when are you setting the arrow?
When
Once
the
the-
ball is
inbound.
played in.
It's when you give it to the thrower in this case. And the reason why it's given that when you hand it to the thrower in for this particular foul, because we're starting the game with the technical, is if we didn't set it when we gave the ball to the thrower in and we threw it and 2 people got to the ball at the same time and you had a held ball situation, you wouldn't know who to give it to. So for the throw in for the technical fouls, the arrow is set once the ball is given to the player for the throw in.
It's because it hasn't been established yet.
It hasn't
So-
been established, right?
So it's not for all technical fouls, it's just in this case.
This case, exactly. Sorry.
Is that a great play or what?
So would you, just as a follow-up to that, would you direct that kid off the floor? Would you are you concerned about, other teammates, a fight starting, like as the official, like what would you actually do to the, to the kid that committed the foul? Would you?
I would call a flagrant foul. He obviously, something must have happened in the last game or something, but I think if we don't take this kid out of the game with a flagrant foul, I think you're absolutely right. There could be retribution, retaliation, something's gone on. And as officials, we need to send the message that we ain't gonna have that tonight in our game. We're taking this kid out.
So, and again, this is kind of getting into more detail than perhaps you need to, but you can actually kind of run this clip and you can see the U2 is the guy with his hand up in the air right now and who's up from the other side of the floor, actually just walks over to the table and starts reporting. Without knowing what his partners have, without knowing what the call is, without any discussion, watch it out. He's going to have his hand up in the air. Now he's walking. He hasn't talked to anybody. And he's like, okay, I'm going to report my foul. You do not want to be doing that.
Not on this kind of call. If it's just a regular foul, yeah, no big deal. But on this
there's a
kind
whole
of
bunch
call,
of stuff going on here that you need a conversation with your partners without just suddenly walking to the table and reporting.
And that's why part of the whole thing of sending the players to their benches on a play like this is a good idea, because it gives the officials a chance to absolutely talk about what do we want to do as a crew on this play.
and once the
Got
player,
that, but
once you
but in the
disqual-
meantime, you're also taking that kid away from, I'm worried that one of the purple teammates is going to go up and deck this kid or something. So
That's why you send them to their own
Yeah.
benches.
okay. Yeah, and that means when you say send them, I'm sorry for the basic questions here, but when
No.
you say send them, you mean you literally escort the kid, or you just yell at him, like point, like
No, we're going to send all the players to their bench area. We're not going to
Okay,
take them
okay.
off the court. We're just sending them to go stand in front of their bench like a
gotcha.
30-second timeout. And
Okay.
then
And you know,
once we
if you're
take-
worried about this kid that just fouled flagrantly, you might walk him personally to the bench so he doesn't do any other shit, or so somebody doesn't attack him,
be his
but-
bodyguard.
right?
Yeah.
And then the final thing, you know, in high school, when a kid gets disqualified, he has to stay on the bench. You can't send him away. So he's going
To
to
the
be in,
locker rooms. Okay.
right. He's going to be in the gym. So you just need to make sure that you are aware of him for the rest of the game, or at least for the first bit of it.
And I will add just one more thing. If something like this, if this player were on the bench and he was still being a problem, you can send him to the locker room, but they need to send an adult with him.
Right, right. Thank you.
You can't send him to the locker room to himself. So he's going to lose an assistant coach to go walk this kid off.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's,
Eastern Washington.
yep, my old stomping grounds. This thing made national headlines. We haven't even seen the worst ones yet. And this is all in the same game, and this player is still in the game.
Isn't this a kid that he's like, he looks like he's 30 years old?
They don't allow us to ask for IDs.
So how are you guys going to handle this? Like, that's the first one. What do you call that first one? Let's go back here. Okay,
That's
that happens in a game. What are you guys going to call?
I think that's a flagrant right there.
That's flagrant. He's out of there.
Perfect. I like it. Okay,
Could solve the rest of the problems of the game.
but I think what happened in this game was these were all just called fouls, if I'm not mistaken. And
Yep.
so the kids just got more and more, it's like, well, shit,
Yep.
I can pretty much murder these guys and nothing's gonna really get called except another foul.
Right. I've got 4 more of these to give.
The refs got paid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Then they made national headlines.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, just looking at every one of these is upgradable to something. Look at this.
Are they still reffing?
I don't know.
Yeah, just a crazy, I just had to show that one.
But I mean, you know, when she showed that last picture of the one official standing there, that's part of our problem, people. That's why we need the young faces out there, is because you've got guys like that, guys like me. I mean, I'm in my 60s now. We don't want to, we need some young faces out there, people who can keep up with the game, and people who are learning that kind of stuff is unacceptable. You know, there are, oh, this is a good play.
Yeah, go ahead, finish up, Mike, and then I'll run it.
No, there's, you know, and learning that this kind of stuff is unacceptable as a new person is a lot easier than a guy who's been doing it for 30 years. And maybe he is just out there getting a paycheck and is just used to seeing that and not making that call and doesn't care. And we need young officials who care out there, who want the game to be played right.
If you're in your 50s, does that count? No?
You're still young.
Okay, thank you.
It's when I started.
Okay.
So you're in company. I won't call you good. You're in good company, but you're in company.
Oh, you're in great company. Come on, Steve.
Yeah. So this play, I can't tell. There's no time on here, but obviously he's being asked to foul this player. And there's a right way and a wrong way to foul. Is he making a play for the ball, or is he just grabbing him to get the foul?
Just grabbing, that's intentional.
That is, it's supposed to be an intentional foul, but way too often we know the team is trying to foul, so people are just calling that a common foul. And to me, you're absolutely putting the offense at a disadvantage by not calling that an intentional.
They missed the foul on blue 1, which actually probably could have been called a common foul, and then ended up making the second guy call, act the way he did.
What else do we have? When is ball dead? I don't know what, I haven't looked at these in a year, so we're just looking. When is the ball dead? I can turn on the noise.
Well, were they thinking there was supposed to be a travel first?
I thought I saw travel.
Well, that would solve everything. But if you didn't call the travel, then when?
Oh, so when is the ball dead in this case? So is the ball dead yet?
Right. I think he's trying to point out that the foul happens when the reach across. There we go.
I think the foul happened before he attempted to shoot.
Oh, before the continuation, right. So he hadn't started the habitual motion for a try because he was actually getting hacked and the ball wasn't necessarily right in his hands. It was on that dribble right there. So, right, the ball should be dead right there on that foul. He hasn't done the habitual motion starting a shot yet.
Right.
But then would you count the basket plus the foul since
no,
the foul?
see how he just waved it off?
Okay, I didn't.
That's kind of not a real signal, but it communicates well. He's calling a block on that guy, and then he waves off the basket, which is correct.
He's kind of in a hurry, like, how I asked you guys just to stop when you're calling the foul and just be clear about what you have. This guy is like a study.
Raise your hand to stop the clock.
Yeah, like stand there, stop the clock. If you're going to wave off the basket, use both your arms. I mean, make it clear so everybody in the gym knows what you have, because this guy is just, I don't know, he's just flailing arms.
The difference between, the high school level and the college level too, is in high school, you need to learn to do the whole boop, the preliminary. White, blue 32, block, no shot. And then you go to the reporting area. We're not walking and talking as we're doing the preliminary. The good habit is that helps slow you down is the whistle, color, number, foul, consequence, then go report. At the college level, they don't have to do that preliminary stuff. Just boop, and they're already running to the table with their foul, it seems like. So
Okay, this is the last one I have. So let's see what happens here.
learn the preliminary, practice it in front of the mirror.
So we get out of bounds across the court here.
Yeah, he's telling him, hey, you got to be the C because he's not in that guy is not in a good
This
position
guy
right
should be
now.
down here, but
He's supposed to be right down there.
he's getting
Gets there eventually.
Yeah.
Called an intentional foul.
We got two guys going over to report again. This is the whole thing that was, you can pause it for a second. This is the whole thing where Stacy was talking earlier. Get together before we report. We've got some unusual stuff happening on this play. Let's get together. We're going to make sure we got eyes on the players, but let's discuss what we have going on before we just walk on over. Because you saw you had two officials walking over, getting ready to report the same thing, which means they didn't even know what the other person was doing.
And I think it gets worse. If I'm thinking,
Well, it does, because we're going to have a coach come in over here on the little left side coming up here.
over here,
He's not happy with, yeah, there's his hand.
right there. And nobody's really addressing him. Well, now he is. Now he's getting demonstrative. Now he gets teed.
And again, he just reported it without talking to his partners. And now he's getting the, you're leaving now.
So how are we going to adjudicate this? Like, so we had an intentional foul and we have a tee against the coach. What do we got? This is your last quiz for the night. Somebody step in.
Game administration.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the guy in the blue jacket might be that person.
Better late than never.
Well, you'd shoot the 2 for the intentional foul.
Is anybody
Then
on
you
the lane
shoot-
line?
No.
Okay.
Then you'd shoot the 2 for the technical.
What they call the game.
And I think you would get the ball nearest the point of the first intentional foul.
You're almost, you got a lot of that right. but
So
you got the last
close.
piece wrong.
You had 1 and 2 shot at the last piece.
Hey, thank you for jumping in though, JQ.
Yeah, that is awesome. No, because the last set of free throws that were shot were for the technical foul. You would take the ball out at the division line opposite the table. I don't know if they gave the coach a second tee and that's why they ejected him, because that's what it would take, would be a second tee. You can't just stick your finger out like that unless you're giving him a second tee. And then, right, it looks like they decided to just call the game. We couldn't see what the timing was and stuff. But you're right, you shoot all those free throws with nobody on the line. The intentional foul would be shot by the player who got intentionally fouled. He would be the one to shoot. And then anybody could shoot the technical foul free throws, including any eligible substitute. And then, like I said, the team gets the ball for the throw in at the division line opposite the table. But the key in all that is truly when you have those kinds of unusual situations, and that's part of my pregame, is if we have an unusual situation and intentional fouls, flagrant fouls, technical fouls, those are all kind of unusual situations. Let's get together and talk before we do any kind of reporting or administration of the fouls.
Yeah, and just remember, you shoot the free throws, you do everything in order. So you shoot the intentionals, then 1 or 2 technicals, and then the last technical is going to, the last foul in that whole sequence is going to indicate who's going to get the ball. So since the last foul in that sequence was a technical foul against that coach, against his team, then the other team's going to shoot and they're going to get the ball at midcourt. So that was the piece, JQ, that got wrong. Okay. Boy, that was fun. I love clips.
Love clips, love rules. Clips generate a lot of good discussion because everybody's got their own judgment. You will see a block charge play shown to 100 people and 50 people will say block and 50 people will say charge. Then you just try to whittle it down, and you try to give your answers based on the rules. Like these block charges, it's all about LGP. Is LGP established? Is LGP maintained?
Legal guarding position.
Legal guarding position. Sorry, I just said as soon as I said that. So it's all about knowing and understanding the rules and then just applying them to the game. Knowing the rules is the science of officiating. The art is now applying those rules to a game and making it all work.
Just don't, when this weird, crazy stuff happens, you got to go with your gut. Like Tam, I think you said that on that jump ball, it was like, oh, that guy needs to get ejected. Yeah, that's your gut's telling you that. You confirm it with your partners, but don't, sometimes we kind of talk ourselves out of calling what we know we should call. So listen to your gut. Okay, anybody have any other questions for Mike? Thank you, Mike, for joining.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Thanks for having me and listening to me talk.
Yeah.
Talk.
One more question, kind of has to do with that unusual situation. So if there's multiple whistles, so multiple officials have called something, isn't that a time you would also get together and talk to make sure that you have either the same foul, or maybe one has the violation and one has a foul and you have to figure out which one happened first? Isn't that still another time you have to get together?
Great question. Double whistles are also one of my pregame items because double whistles happen. And that's absolutely a great question. If we have a double whistle, Steve and I both go up with a fist, we both will, we'll make eye contact. And then normally it's the person who has the primary area that the play happened in is going to take the call. If one of us have a fist and one of us has an open hand, then one of us should know something happened first, should know what happened first. Steve, I've got to travel before the foul. Mike, I've got to push to cause the travel. One of us knows what happened first on that play. So we're not necessarily going get together and talk about it. We pre-game double whistles, and we're going to have that communication by making eye contact and knowing whose primary call it should be. And also, we also know too that if I've had the last 5 fouls and I'm blowing my whistle for another one and Steve jumps in and takes it, I'm giving it to him. Please, Steve, thank you. And he's probably blowing his whistle because he knows I've had the last 5 fouls and he's trying to get me out of the soup. But double whistles is definitely a good pregame topic.
And as you go along, you're going to find ways. Initially, you're probably going to come together and talk because you're newer, but over time you figure out ways to communicate across the floor verbally or with facial, with eyes or with something, it kind of
strong
evolves.
Voice or a strong voice. It's not like we need to have a secret on this play. I'm not going to go up and whisper to Steve, hey Steve, what did you have the travel first, the foul first? Yeah, we're going to be strong with our communication, and we're showing that we're willing to communicate with our partner too by saying, Steve, I've got to travel first.
The end.
The end.
Steve, you got anything? Any words of wisdom?
Nothing new.
Okay.
have
Thursday, go
I
ahead.
have one question. So on that last play, if that coach had been given, let's say, a double technical and had to leave, and he was resisting and such. But then they ended the game fairly quickly. Now, let's say you're wrapping up and maybe you go to the locker room or you're in the hallway or whatever, and he's still giving you a lot of grief. One or more of the referees. Then what do? Do you report that somehow, or do you have to? You just deal with it. Just try to walk away, or what do you do?
Well, it's one of those, it's in a way, it's kind of a depends situation because rec ball creates its own challenges versus school ball. The biggest thing it would be if that coach is still out there waiting for you, I want to know where gym management is. And this is a high school game. You can be damn straight. I'm giving the assigner a call that night and letting him know all that transpired, including anything that happens post game like that. When it's a rec ball game, you need the game manager again, but you still should send something to the assigner saying, hey, this is what I had to deal with after the game. And we've actually had officials call 911 because they felt their safety was being threatened. So don't be afraid to use that if that's what's going to make you feel safe and you don't have any kind of gym management or, there's usually cops at these games, especially at Metro games and stuff like that. There's usually some sort of police presence there. So, hopefully, you can use them if unfortunately you need to. But yeah, keep your cell phone handy.
Yeah, and kind of a corollary to this whole thing is, let's say that the coach is still in the game. You haven't tossed him or anything, but he's really unhappy and you guys are going towards the locker rooms for halftime and he starts cussing and swearing and doing all kinds of stuff. You can tee him and start the second half with a tee. He doesn't have to be in the gym.
Yeah.
You don't need to take that.
Or same way, let's say he kept his, composure enough to stay till the end of the game and game's over with and he comes over to you guys as you're walking off the court and just lays into you guys. Give him another tee. You're not going to shoot the free throws because the game's already over, but now he's ejected and that ejection has consequences for them if they're a school coach.
Now, if you haven't left the visual confines of the playing court and you tee the coach and the games and the free throws could impact the game, don't you shoot him?
Oh, absolutely. But I would think if he's given me grief in that situation, he probably lost.
Right,
so
right.
we're not going to shoot the free throws because he already lost.
I actually saw the opposite.
Don't
of that happen
undersell
in
the coach's stupidity in terms of when he might be yelling at you.
I saw that happen in Jeff Jolly. The winning coach, as they were walking off the floor, the stupid winning coach, they ended up shooting free throws.
Because he won by a point or something.
Yeah.
If it's like a 1-point game and the coach is stupid enough to do that and you haven't walked off the court, tweet, we're playing some more basketball.
Yep.
Clear the court.
All right, guys, I know it's late.
Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate you taking the time out to learn this stuff.
Okay,
Thank you.
For those of you who want to come on Thursday, who missed some sessions or want to review, we're going to be at JCC 7 to 8:30. And I'll see if I can bring some of those patches that Leslie had. Okay.
Roger that.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
See you guys.